I want to kick myself in the butt again. Went to the casino and won $1,000 and gave it back to him. Some of the people in there, Penn National, Hollywood, Penn National Gaming, they know who I am. The police know who I am, and that's good. Have the board of directors show some respect to me. Bring me a contract, pay me $1 billion a month. Based on top hedge fund paycheck. Today I think in the stock market, my day trade, overnight trade made almost 200% one trading session. Well, I could do that almost every day probably if I had unlimited day trades. But I don't, and I don't have unlimited funds to just sit here and try to double my $200 all day every day. $200 now worth 400 something. Okay. I have gotten up over 10 or 15,000 doing that for, but I've never gotten to the 25,000 day trading. And I have assets under control by my family and my brothers that they're not cooperating with me on to give me my $25,000 to unlimited day trade, so it kind of cramps my style forever. And that's one of the reasons I kind of thought Purdue was a bunch of shit with their efficient market theory, and the purpose of the company is to maximize stock owner value. That was 1983, now I don't know if they still teach that shit. And that's why I never really tried to study much, because it's just a bunch of shit. So I didn't get straight A's. I got B's. With all the crap they were teaching, attitudes, and fraud that took place. And with Oklahoma State, about the same thing. So I'll compare my degrees in ACT percent, GMAT percent, and grades in what, from where, to anybody in the country. And it'll just result in me being better than most everybody everywhere, and that minimum wage for me is $5 billion a year based on hedge fund paycheck. And based on all the shit, 200% in one day in the stock market, well, I should be making $1 billion a week. Ford Motors, you can pay me $1 billion a week. I'll be a consultant. Like I said, I'll have an office in New York City, Los Angeles, California, French Riviera, Hawaii, wherever I feel like it. Because all the gossip I've listened to about Ford people's employees, and they're involved with me getting thrown in jail, and the Wilbur idiot at Purdue. There were 10 of those guys at Purdue, and how many of them since Purdue around Kansas City or my house with the turtleneck and crew cut and smoking cigarettes, and I don't know who the fuck. But when he said, that they were teaching us useful information the first year, and the second year that we can't do what they're teaching, and I personally will be thrown in jail if I go into a stockbroker office in Kansas City, reinforce the whole place was a bunch of shit. Everything's a bunch of shit. I don't believe in wasting my time studying shit. I graduated, which is where I started, because I wasn't getting the license or $1 billion a year with my high school diploma or my BS. Now, I don't know what the highest paycheck in America was in 1979 with my high school diploma, or 83 with my BS, or 85 with my MS. But I do know I've listened to You're No Different Than Everybody Else. And it's not just a certificate, many people say, and in some ways it is just a certificate, and you're no different than everybody else. So let's start with You're no budget and different than everybody else with ACT percent and GMAT percent. We'll compare apples to apples and shit to shit. So Purdue, because of that shit, you owe me $1 trillion. Sorry, but that's the way it is now. The way things have evolved. And Merrill Lynch, Payne Weber, Smith Barney, you owe me $1 trillion. Because I had family accounts in there through Dad. I own the companies, your parent companies, directly in my own name. after Merrill Lynch started arresting me for trespassing in Kansas City. It's all just a bunch of mafia shit, murder, identity theft, liars and frauds and gossips. And so I just sit on my ass and do this shit. I really had a job, independent contractor, real estate, and insurance. Dad and Video Corner turned into shit. A self-proclaimed identity thief and murderer. Fraud. And so what? Nobody around here cares. What are you going to do about it? Everything just becomes, what are you going to do about it? I do this about it. It's not making me a trillionaire. If it's hitting the people who deserve to be hit, that's the part of the intention of this. To hit everybody who deserves to be hit, it'd make me the trillionaire I'm supposed to be. So, maximize stockholder value of this company right here. I can outperform the S&P 500, 200% in one day today. That's just a typical day if I have unlimited day trades and time to deal with it. T-Mobile, Sprint, United Telecom, just give me $1 trillion. You've ruined the stock of that company for 20 years, so just take the cash out of the Treasury Department and hand me $1 trillion. Show some respect. Everybody around Kansas City is disrespecting me. Well, minimum wage for me is $5 billion a year based on that top hedge fund paycheck. That's the way I've always been. Mom and Dad disrespected me and treated me like shit in Video Corner, and I broke down. I couldn't believe it. Well, I believe it, and I believe Dad was a murderer, fraud, identity thief. Mom was just some 2 years at Pittsburgh Gorilla in Pittsburgh, Kansas, whatever, 2 years, never graduated, and self-proclaimed liar and actress or whatever, and I believe she really was fucking part of murdering my dad. And maybe all the people gossiped to her that he was cheating on her or something, and so they justified that it was okay for him to be murdered because he wasn't being faithful to her or something. That's the kind of things these idiots do, is just gossip about people to get them in trouble, and the people who, like family or something, just to turn them against them so they don't care. That's the kind of bullshit people do. His law firm, people from his law firm I remember. Well, some of them are not the same people I remember. They have been murdered and had people steal their identities, or they're still alive, and they have intentionally people going around who have stolen their identity and do shit. I don't know. I'm the same way I'm the same way about that with everybody in my fraternity, my colleges, my high school, grade school, neighborhood when I grew up. Dad's circle of friends I grew up around. I don't know who the fuck people are. This is really me. This is really me. If the 80 Pi sorority wants to pay me $1 billion, $3.14 billion a year, or $22.7 billion for the rest of my life to be the president, yeah, I know they're not going to do that probably anyway in hell. Maybe they're laughing, or maybe it's opening some eyes to get me what I deserve with these stockbroker offices in the state of Kansas, the United States. The respect I deserve with the legal system and everything else. The dad I had after college said, don't go to law school, you're not supposed to be a lawyer, you're not a lawyer, so don't argue with lawyers. Well, it used to be the law's the law, whether you're a lawyer or not. You don't have to be a lawyer to go. You gotta be a lawyer to advertise yourself as a lawyer and be licensed, but it's just one time this, one time that. Owner's the owner, the law's the law. Then it doesn't matter. You don't own enough to matter, or they don't care, or the judge doesn't want to mess with it, or nobody owns enough to matter, so I want those people messed up. June 1st, it's June 1st, 1:23 a.m. 1, 2, 3. Simple as ABC. Baby, just you and me. It's that simple. Common sense, punks. Bye-bye, punks.